This is Emmitt Hamelin's Man Cave. Sports talk with the legendary Emmitt Hamelin.
Hi, my name is Emmitt Hamelin, and welcome to the very first episode of The Man Cave. Joining us on the show is the legendary Joe Delaronde and the very iconic Harley Delaronde.
Some would say ironic.
Yes. And we're going to be talking some, sports. Sports is the name of the game on this show. So let's get right to it. We're starting off with the NHL. You guys, what do you want to start with? What's got you in the NHL?
You know what's great? I think who's hot, who's not right now. You talked about a team. There's a couple of teams that are being discussed. Number one, the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yes, sir. My Hawks.
What a start to the season. And my concern, though, I don't know if you guys agree, but when a team is playing that great out of the box, it's almost like you're using up all your energy now. And I don't know if they're doing that. I think they might be just that good that they keep winning and finding ways to win. But I keep thinking of a couple of years ago when the New England Patriots were 17-0, and then when the time comes, all of a sudden, you run out of gas when you really need it. And they're playing almost like too well right now.
Yeah, they're play. I've watched a bit of them, not a lot, mind you, to say that to know what the reason is. But I agree, they have a lot of talent. I think they're getting the goaltending, even with Emery and Crawford, and I believe Crawford was hurt yesterday. But I think it's become a question of confidence. This is from what I see. They just look like they go in there knowing, well, we're going to win. It's just a question of how. And if they run into a rough patch with more injuries and so on, maybe that might be a good thing for them to do before, rather than going to some ridiculous 2 or 3 losses, which could easily happen this year. They got 3, but I mean regulation type losses, but 3 losses that is. But I think that it's really a lot of confidence. It's a combination of all those skill. Good coaching, obviously, using your players right, using the goaltenders right. And looked at the beginning of the season when I knew this short season was going to be happening. I said that a certain type of coach was going to be really, really more important. It's always important, but more important this year, Joe.
I think the fact that it's a short season makes it exciting because it's different, and so all the strategies out the window of the usual stuff, and some teams are picking it up, others are falling by the wayside. Look at a team like Ottawa. Their best goaltender is out, their best forward is out, and their best defenseman, and they're out for a long time. What do? They keep winning.
Yeah, they're on a roll.
They just keep playing well. They find a way to win, and sometimes it's just a matter of the right guys in the room at the right time.
They've banded together against adversity, kind of say that we're going to all do what we have to do. We're going to work a little harder because nobody thinks we can do it. It's an us against the world kind of thing with them. Not having an overly talented crew left there, but doing what they've got to do. And that attitude again, and confidence, and it just builds and builds from there. So in this short season, I looked at it and I said, boy, there are going to be certain skills, certain types of coaching skills, as I said earlier, certain type of being able to handle certain things a little bit better. Even it's just whether to give the guys a day off, that becomes amplified. When to give them a day off, when's it going to be a good time to have a light skate, or is there a time when they need to be pushed a little? A 3-day break. My team, the Leafs, right now. I'm a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. They got 3 days off. What do they do in that time? Does he just give them a break with a light skate in the middle? Or does he just, does he say, go and do what you want for a couple of days? All these types of things become amplified in a short season. And I was listening, someone mentioned, wouldn't it be odd if I don't know where I heard this, but Chicago Blackhawks, as you were saying, could end up losing less games in the regular season than they would in the playoffs, let's say.
Yeah.
And, they could end up a big upset occurs. These types of things, exactly.
Yeah, the season is shortened, but the playoffs aren't.
No.
Playoffs are the same thing. And you look at hot teams. I mean, I'm a Canadiens fan, and I'm happy with the way things are going. But you still look at the division, and who's the team that's playing the best has to be the Boston Bruins. They have just been finding a way to win every night, whether it's in overtime, whether it's in regulation. it's hard as a Canadiens fan to watch because you just say that's a team that is scary at this point. And they look like, for them, they want to get back. They want to get that Stanley Cup back. They had a taste of it a couple of years ago. They're ready for more.
They're ready for more. They're getting the good goaltending from Tuukka Rask.
Yeah.
And a little bit, not surprisingly, but a lot of people might have said, well, Tim Thomas isn't around. Well, Tuukka Rask, he's stepped up and he's provided them that goaltending, given them that goaltending that they really need at this time. But
yeah.
And I just think that I've been really impressed with the Bruins play, the steady kind of play. They're just, again, confidence, but knowing their system, knowing what each guy brings to the table and sticking with that. And same goes, I might just jump in, as much as I don't like to admit it, Montreal Canadiens. Probably the biggest surprise in terms of a team down, finishing really low, and now looking as though they have a shot at being, pushing the Bruins for the first overall in the Northeast.
It's a funny thing about draft choices. A couple of good draft choices, and you're right back in it. And one good free agent pickup in Brandon Prust, who's given that team a whole new dimension. And you talk about draft choices. I know later on we're going to talk about the NFL Combine with the that's all about the draft, because that sport is more about the draft than anything else.
That's my specialty. I love that. Mm-hmm. But the Canadiens are they're really something right now. They're hot, and I don't really like them, but I have to admit they're on a roll right now, and I know it was tough for Joe to admit that Boston is actually playing really good right now. And
those are the facts, and the fact is, if the Bruins are playing well and the Canadiens are playing well, it bodes well for if there's a chance that they meet, because you're going to have a great series. Because nobody wants, as much as the Boston fans hate the Canadiens and vice versa, it's no fun when the team you really dislike is really having such a horrible season that when you play, it's no fun. You like them to be evenly matched. You want the intensity. You want the battle, and especially if they're both at the highest level, then you're going to get real hockey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I'm looking for this year, I'm starting to think is really possible by the way teams are playing. I'm looking at a first-round matchup, 4th and 5th, Canadiens and the Maple Leafs.
It could happen, and the Leafs have had the better of it so far.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other night, of course, the Habs got a little bit of revenge back and totally dominated the Leafs, and there's no doubt that they did. But I'm really looking forward to that possibility happening. My team, the Leafs, actually getting in the playoffs after about, I began to forget how many years. I know how many years without a cup, mind you. But how many years out of the playoffs. It's just, I'm really looking forward to that possibility anyway. And I'm thinking, boy, it could be a lot of excitement. I'm going to get all my Leafs jerseys and sweaters soon.
Yeah, they look like they've been playing without a cup.
But
but I'll tell you something. The one game where they really kicked the Canadiens' butt on the score sheet and physically is actually the thing that woke the Canadiens up, and it also gave the Leafs a lot of confidence that, hey, we're not going to be pushed around.
Well, no, they were. That's Randy Carlyle's style, though. He looked at them at the end of last year, came in late in the year, looked at the Leafs team, had a chance to almost have a pre-season, if you would, use that as I guess to evaluate the kind of players he had. Went into it, jumped into that, and that's another part of that whole. The whole thing was the teams had to go in with a 3 or 4 day training camp, and how does a new coach, for example, able to assess his talent, put the right people on the right line in the right circumstances, put them on a power play. Who do I play? Do I go with what they were doing last year and adjust? Do I just try something new? All of these things, again, goes back to coaching at the beginning, and adjusting to this type of a season is so important. Now, how soon do the other teams start getting their motor going? How soon do the Flyers get things worked out? Do they look good for a while? They went against the Leafs, looked poor, and then they went out the other night. They won the other night again. So what's really who's the true team here? Are the Kings going to get back into the playoffs?
Yeah,
we have
the
all
defending
of those
champs. They don't look like it.
That's been seen in other sports, especially like in football, where a lot of times those defending champs don't even make it to the playoffs. And can this kind of happen in the short season? Less likely in the NHL 82-game season, but now more likely in a 48-game season.
Well, I have to say, it is much more interesting. There's lots more to talk about. I guess we can talk about it on another show.
Yeah.
There's been realignment is in the works.
Yeah.
We can talk about individual players later on, but lots to talk about. What else you got there, Emmett?
I actually wanted to talk about MMA, UFC, all that sort of stuff later on in the show.
Okay.
And we'll discuss GSP's fight next month. Actually, no, it's this month now, on the 16th, I believe.
Imagine if they, instead of having it at the Bell Center, they actually moved it to Saint Isidore, because that's where he's from. Saint Isidore, put out an open field. There'd be thousands.
Bales of hay.
Yeah.
Bales of hay.
Yeah.
Instead of the octagon, bales of hay. That'd be a blast.
Outdoor.
If you go out to the Sugar Shack, they have a picture. He was working in that Sugar Shack when he was younger. They got a
wow.
picture of GSP back in the Sugar Shack. He's actually from Saint Isidore, for the few people who might not know that.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
That's awesome. All right, let's move along now to the NFL. The scouting combine just ended on Tuesday, I believe. And Harley, I know you paid a lot of attention to it. What did you see? Did you see anyone that stood out?
I saw a number of players, and reports are certain players really, I guess, improved their status. Some of the well-known names. One guy that a lot of people heard about because of the probably the most famous of all the players, Manti Te'o, the whole girlfriend incident. For those who may or may not know, of course, Manti Te'o was had this online girlfriend, if you want to call it, that was actually not actual girl, some guy who happened to have a man crush on him, I think it was, and posed as a girlfriend, and Manti supposedly never met this girl.
So he went along.
So he went along with it and said, I told people I have a girlfriend, but didn't give all the details, and at one point was even telling people that she was sick, had some type of a disease.
Didn't she die in the end?
And in the end, she died. So he was like, people were saying, there was even some people saying, did he do that on purpose because he would help him in getting the Heisman Trophy, which he was nipped out of by a freshman this year. And Manti Te'o, anyway, became the big name in college football. So this whole issue of, was that going to affect his draft status, and where would he be drafted, higher or lower? These are the kind of things that in the United States, it's like wall-to-wall football, and this kind of thing becomes like it's a bigger deal, than people pay more attention to it than they actually do to the U.S. budget.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, our buddies, we get together on draft day.
Yeah.
Some more into the details of the college. So others just like saying, this is what we need, and let's hope we get a good guy, and et cetera. But you talk about Te'o, what a disaster. Not only did he have the fall from grace in terms of his personal life, but he didn't play well in the big championship game. He was exposed at that point, maybe just because of all the situation. But then comes what we're talking about, is the combine. And you had, he did not perform well at all. You had guys who were 300 pounds who ran a faster 40 than him. And I know it's not all about speed and it's about getting the game, but let's face it, his stock has dropped. I don't even know if he'll be drafted at this point. Somebody will probably draft him, but I just... It's been such a dramatic fall. Will his mental state be able to withstand it? Because it's all about your state of mind as well, and your desire and your drive.
I think that's more important for him. A team's going to that combine who were interested in a player in that position, Manti Te'o, let's say. Go in there, and the time is important. Obviously, if you're running back and you're running at a 5'2" instead of a 4'4", 4'5", then that's going to be a little bit slow. But they probably would have seen that on film anyway, that he was slow, and know that. But in this case, what they're really probably the most important thing is the interviews. The interviews and some of the testing, but more so the interviews. That 15 minutes they get to sit there with that player and make a decision. This is the kind of guy we want. No, this is the kind of guy we don't want. He doesn't have, he's obviously, we want a quarterback that's bright, doesn't come across that way. We know that in our system, we expect this type of a quality. They see that, they'll maybe form their own questions or ask their own questions on whatever that will point this out for them. So this is even more important, I think, was that, and we don't see that. We don't see the timing. What we do see is that 40 time. That's how many reps a guy does, 28 reps. That's black and white for people. But usually that's like, it makes a difference if a guy is, like you said, first round or second round, or whatever. But I think Manti Te'o, it's going to be, what kind of a person is he? Is he a guy that's gullible? Is he a guy that, obviously he fell for this type of scheme or scam or whatever you want to call it? But I think that's probably the key for the combine is their questions they ask.
And I mean, yeah, it's like how many reps, how many this, how fast. But then you look at some of the film, and I know, Emmitt, you sent some stuff around the defensive end there for Oregon, the Ducks.
Deion Jordan, yeah.
Yes. Now you're watching this guy, and when you watch the difference between college football and NFL, I think a lot of it shows on the discipline. And the guys who get drafted are the guys who already kind of know the game. You have a lot of running backs who gain 300 yards in a game or 250, and why is that? Because the guys on the end just don't know how to seal. They get blown off the line easily and all this stuff. But you see this guy in the game film where he already knows. And whether he's faster or slower or whatever, he knows the game, knows the flow of the game, and they don't run around him or they don't turn it on inside and fool him. He knows how to do it, and that's what you're watching. The combine is more about the nuts and bolts, but when you want to see how they perform, the scouts know what they're doing, the general managers know what they're doing, they know what their needs are, and the combine is kind of almost to me a fun thing for, hey, let's there's no football, so let's keep the interest going.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with that. That's the NFL is amazing at timing everything, keeping the interest. As you said, if you look at the pacing of when their events are and so on, that's exactly what it is. They keep themselves in the news, and they're the most well-run professional sports league in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there was actually another thing I wanted to talk about was a few top prospects chose not to perform or couldn't perform. Star Lutulele from the University of Utah, I believe.
Yeah.
He's a defensive tackle. He's a beast. He's a beast. But at the combine during the medicals, they found something. He had something wrong with his heart. He had I don't know if it's
palpitation. I think it was.
Yeah. And he couldn't perform. And I still think he's gonna get drafted high. I mean, it depends on his pro day too, but I believe he'll have a really awesome pro day. He reminds me of the defensive tackle from for Baltimore, Haloti Ngata. He reminds me just exactly like him. And also Jarvis Jones, the outside linebacker for Georgia. He was supposed to go top 5. And he just chose to just not work out at the combine, and I didn't understand it. He gave an explanation of why he didn't want to, but
he had an online girlfriend, I think.
What I heard about that, one of the things is there's a question about he still needs to have his medical. I guess he had a condition that actually ended up. He was a transfer from USC, and he had a condition with it's called spinal stenosis, I think it was. So he was in the process of getting that totally taken care of, so the teams would have confidence in his ability to play professionally. So I think he was waiting on that. So these are the kinds of things. But you again, we can talk about this before the draft. I'd look forward to talking more detail about the draft at a future show. And what I think these are the types of things that shows you how intense that whole process is, how the prodding and the probing of each player is so detailed, and how far it's gone from, let's say, 20, 30 years ago, where, like a lot of times they just looked at, they saw a few players and saw who the national champions were, and saw, well, he's a quarterback, well, maybe we'll get him, and they ended up missing on some people. That's why they miss on a Johnny Unitas. Johnny Unitas would never have been missed on now. He would have been, okay, he's not skilled, but he's smart, he reads this and that. He would have been, Johnny Unitas was never drafted.
Fred Bolitnikov.
Yeah, exactly.
A guy like that. What? He's small, but he's slow.
Yeah.
I think that was the scouting report.
Yeah.
But he caught everything they threw at him and found himself open all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And he would have been the Wesley Welker type player, although not as fast as Wesley Welker, but those are the kind of guys now. Somebody catches them anyway. If it's not everyone, somebody catches them. There are who knows how many guys would have been stars in a league like the NFL in the past, and if we look at it in past years, but now they have that opportunity. Guys can go to the small colleges and play there, or stay at home to the area they want to,
and get noticed.
And get noticed, because of the film today, the internet. Everybody can makes a film and sends it out, and people don't have to go travel here or there. They just look at their film and put together a highlight package. I go on. I pay attention to Canadian football a lot, and there's a couple of sites I go on, and it's basically young guys, young kids, or 17, 18, 19-year-old guys putting up, having their mother or their buddy make a video of them and posting it up on this Canada, I don't know the name of it, but a foot site. And people go there, and I'm sure a lot of recruiting is done just using that site and narrowing things down. So it's changed so much, and it's nice to watch. We can almost feel as though we have a little insight. We see something. We can do that. We can play that game.
Harley has a little bit of insight on the Canadian game, because a little known fact, but he did play for, was it St. Mary's? Where did you play?
I played at University, New Brunswick, and Bishops.
Yeah. So Harley actually played. Maybe you weren't the number one corner on the team, but he played the game, knows the game. The Canadian game is a little different. Gives us a chance to kind of segue a bit, because the Montreal Alouettes own the rights to Tim Tebow.
Oh, yes.
And as much as Tebow and his idiot agent are saying, we'll never consider the CFL. You know what? Consider the CFL.
Yes.
It's a different game. The guy's got legs. The guy could actually play instead of doing what he's doing with the Jets, which is nothing. And they're probably going to cut him. I mean, it's foolish. Come to the CFL.
They're actually looking at trade offers, but I don't think anyone's really interested as much. Like they're looking to trade Tebow and Revis, and I mean, Revis is going to generate all the attention.
I don't think Tebow could do well in the CFL. I don't think he throws well enough, from what I've seen. I think he can run. He can run, but there are a lot of guys who can run. What I'm saying is, no, I wouldn't say he couldn't do well, but he wouldn't be a superstar.
Well, he'd at least get a chance to play and show his stuff.
A little bit more.
I mean, Warren Moon, going back a few years ago, was that kind of guy. He finally got a chance to show his stuff, and then went back to the NFL. I don't think Tebow's of that caliber, but he can run, he can avoid the rush, and you can hit a lot of shorter or medium passes. Maybe won't get it to throw the bomb as often, or doesn't have that ability to throw across that very wide field. But he'll have a chance to play, and I think that's the real key. If you don't play, you never see what you can do. I can think of who's the guy for who's the third stringer for the Giants, Palmer, the guy he's all over the place now as an analyst. Played about 4 downs in the NFL.
Yeah.
Came up to the CFL, didn't play there either. So unless you actually play, no one sees what you do. And there's a lot of players in that position. The Alouettes backup finally said, "I'm leaving because I'm never going to get to play. I'll never know if I'm any good. Never mind if the fans will." So
Exactly.
Tebow needs to be shown and play a lot. And then if he does well, he does well. If he doesn't, then retire. He'll be a great analyst or a preach.
I think he should definitely get canonized for some of the miracles he pulled off in Denver.
Yeah, he could be the next Pope.
Yeah.
They're looking for one. There you go. Tebow for Pope.
Tebow for Pope. Should get that trending on Twitter, actually. Tebow for Pope.
I'm not sure if he's Catholic, though. We go into that whole ecclesiastical.
That's a debate for another time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moving on, I actually want to talk about the trade. The Kansas City Chiefs traded their second-round pick to San Francisco for quarterback Alex Smith, and that actually will change the way the draft is. It could change the draft a little bit.
Oh yeah, it certainly could. I think it will, because there was a real possibility of this fellow named Geno Smith, the number 1 rated quarterback, going top maybe 2 or 3, somewhere around there. But now I think that throws that out, and that the team that needed a quarterback probably the most was Kansas City, maybe along with Arizona, which is still a possibility for Smith. But yeah, he changes it now. Now they have issues of who draft next. But I think the biggest thing about this is that I have a lot of fun, and I know you do, Emmett, with mock drafts and seeing and reading and who's the likely guy, who your team is likely. Everybody's saying should get drafted and so on, but you throw it out the window, except in a few cases where they openly are enamored by this one guy, or let's say. But for the most part, there's all of the possibility of trading up, trading down. That can change everything. The free agent situation in the NFL, which can change everything. The Atlanta Falcons, they just released 3 of their regular stars, Turner, Abraham, and the other fellow, Dunta Robinson. They got released today.
Wow.
So
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah.
You're hearing it here first, folks.
Yeah, you're hearing it here
right
first.
here on the show on Emmett's Cave, man. That's it.
Michael Turner, Dunta Robinson, the cornerback, their number 3 tackler,
wow,
and Abraham, who had 10 sacks last year, all got released. So that's the new world in sports that we have today.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened 30 years ago in NFL or any pro sport. Some of your top players getting released because of the age of the salary caps, of et cetera, and all of these other issues. Now we're looking at teams having to make money decisions. We're not going to trade this because of money. Canadians traded for Michael Ryder the other day for Eric Cole. Part of that, the whole factor, had to do with the salary situation. Eric Cole was holding up, what was it, about $3.5 million or whatever?
4 point something
Michael,
for next year.
Yeah, next year. So they're looking at that type of thing. This is the whole new world, when before this didn't happen. And it certainly changed and made things. I wouldn't want to be. Well, I would want to be a GM of a team, but also I wouldn't want to, because I know one of your most important guys besides you is your salary cap guy. He's got to help you figure this out in the NFL or in the hockey situation, and lawyers become probably more important than the stick guy.
Yeah, it's not how good, it's not how well somebody plays. Like you say, these guys were starters,
right?
So they're gone, and that is the new reality. But just getting back to that the trade, it's a good trade all around. They needed a quarterback. And San Francisco was untenable to have 2 frontline guys, especially one guy who actually led them to the playoffs last year, gets hurt, loses his job, but they can't take the other guy out because he's too hot, and then it's a mess. So it's better off. I think it resolved itself in the proper way, and everything else will fall into place, because he needs a new home. It wasn't going to be working for him in San Francisco.
And so what happens next year, first game of the season, Kaepernick gets injured.
Kaepernick tears his ACL.
Yeah.
There goes San Francisco.
They're going to pick up Matt Castle from
Kansas
City.
It's what makes sports so fun. We have a lot of fun with that. Whether this could happen, adding one guy, what kind of difference it'll make, and so on. And I just love the whole idea, and of trying to, and we predict, if you would, this should happen. They'll do this, and then they throw a monkey wrench in it and throw everything off, and it adds so much excitement.
The best laid plans of mice
and
men.
and all of that. But I think this year it's looking as though, as far as the NFL draft, I'd say that one of the I'm pretty sure now, Jokel will probably get first guy picked.
Yeah, exactly.
Offensive tackle, franchise left tackle that's going to protect your quarterbacks.
Kind of like Mandarich a few years ago.
A few years ago.
I just always remember him, surefire, that's it, signed him to a 50-year contract. It never worked out. Sometimes that happens.
All right, we'll discuss actually mock drafts in a later show.
Yeah.
Moving on now to the MMA. Ronda Rousey just fought. It was the very first women's fight in the UFC. Not on the planet, but in the UFC. And
there have been fights. Women have fought before. I've seen a couple of weeks ago. But that's another story for another show.
Local action.
I didn't see a ref there either.
So she kept her streak alive. She actually ended it in the first round by armbar again, so she gets to hang up another arm. What did you guys think?
You know what? I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with it, but as time goes on, I mean, I was also uncomfortable with women serving on frontline military because, oh, geez, that can't happen, but it has. The world changes, and people are more accepting of it. It's not that big a deal anymore.
I just loved it. I think it's tremendous. I've got 2 daughters, and we were actually with one of my daughters and my wife. We watched that fight, and I'm a big fan of MMA. Not one of the biggest, but a pretty good fan of MMA. And I just thought it was tremendous. And anyone who watched it saw that these girls were pretty darn good athletes. She's a great athlete. Olympic Ronda Rousey, for example, an Olympic judo medalist, I believe. And but what I got out of it was the excitement of my wife, who doesn't always watch it, and my daughter, who watches. When that fight was going on, they were so excited, pumped into it,
riveted,
proud in a sense that a woman doing this. They actually said that. They were talking about how the hair on their arms was, hair on the arm. I better not say that.
We'll let that one go.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The excitement they felt at that time when she fought and when she won. It was just, it said that these women, they were saying they feel proud that a woman, and the analysts were talking about it, how she's paved, she and others, but especially because UFC is such a big production and it's such a well-known now enterprise, if you would, a league, or not a league, but and it was just, I think, women showing that women can break the barriers of so many areas. Here's another one they kicked, and Ronda Rousey helped kick it down. She's helping to kick it down because they were. It was good, exciting, the most exciting fight of the night, if you ask me.
Yeah, and just a little note on that, by the way, a Brazilian arm bar will take care of that hair off the arm. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. No problem. It's all taken care of.
So
Saint Pierre.
Moving on to Saint Pierre. He fights. He fights on this in 2 weeks. Is it?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
On the 16th, I believe.
Wow.
And that's going to be big. He's fighting someone he actually hates, this Diaz. I'm not sure.
Not like the last fight when there was a lot of mutual respect and this and that. This time it's it's war.
Yeah, now it's war, and now he really wants to hurt Diaz.
And I think it's the same way on the other side.
All right. Wrapping up the show now. Who do you guys have in the fight, GSP or Diaz?
I think GSP because he's at home. I also think that I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best judge of this, but you know what? Those careers are limited, and you can only do this for so long. He's still there at the top. He wants to go out that way. I'm not saying he's going to go out right away, but this is a big one. He's fortunate that it's at home, and the emotion of the crowd will carry him. I think he's a very skilled and tough fighter.
Oh, I absolutely have to go with GSP on that one. I just think that he's one of the top 2 or 3 MMA fighters in the world. There's no doubt about it. And I think Diaz, Diaz is a tough customer, but very undisciplined. And George just treats it like a science, and just he'll dissect Diaz. And I think the real guy, that next guy up for him, is probably going to be Johnny Hendricks. I think it was a Hendricks,
yeah.
And he probably should be fighting GSP, but just because GSP wanted Diaz so much, they put this ahead. But looking forward to a good one in 2 weeks, and looking forward to some other big fights, and hope that Ronda Rousey will. I wouldn't want her to armbar me, I'll tell you that right now.
Oh no! Oh gosh! I actually want to keep my arm. Yeah. Actually, on another note, the Fight Quest is going to be here in 2 weeks. I don't know, 2 weeks? Yeah. And our Gunawage's own Brandon Stock will be fighting for the belt. We wish him luck, and so this is gonna wrap up the very first episode of the Man Cave with Emmitt, Joe, and Harley. Thank you for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter at the Emmitt34. I'd like to get your feedback, and you could also hit me up on Facebook. Thank you.
This has been Emmitt Hamelin's Man Cave, starring the legendary Emmitt Hamelin. Follow Emmitt on Twitter at the Emmitt34 or on Facebook. This has been a production of Emmitt's Legendary Sports Nation.